Back to our coverage of the impeachment process that has now kick-started at the River State House of Assembly against the governor and his deputy. I'm joined by founder Citizens Quest for Truth Initiative and publisher The Beam News, Obiaruko Ndukwe. Also joining me on the news for more on this development is lawyer Sugbaye Eli, as well as public affairs analyst Femi Lawson. Let me begin with you, Mr. Lawson. We're hearing different sides and different comments from both sides in this matter, and we've had completely different versions of why the reconciliation effort collapsed between them. What's your reading of the latest development in River State?
Thank you, Nifemi. For me, I think there's no end in sight to the political crisis in River State. Unfortunately, in the whole of this scenario, the people of River State themselves are missing. By May 2026, it will be 3 years that this governor was sworn into office. For 6 months out of these less than 3 years, he was away due to the declaration of emergency rule in that state. And from the moment he became governor till now, there has never been a time that political actors in River State, particularly the House of Assembly, have brought this governor to the cleaners on the basis of his performance, on the basis of the electoral promises of their then party, PDP, to the people of River State, and some other important reasons. This has been a battle of how the resources of River State will be distributed, particularly among these political giants in River State, since this crisis started. And one would have expected that after the declaration of state of emergency and the return of Mr. Fubara to office as governor, there would have been some sense of not just reconciliation, but some sense of sincerity on the part of the actors in reform. Because for me, for the 6 months that the retired military officer was in charge as the sole administrator of River State, I'm quite sure that Nigerians, particularly including the people of River State, cannot point out one concrete achievement that government of River State achieved in that 6 months. It was a wasted 6 months. It was a wasted 6 months for the people of River State. It was a 6 months of wasteful spending of resources of River State. And now that you have come back, rather than focusing, on issues that have to do with the real owners of the state, the people of River State, it is still about, disobedience to Godfather, dispute, with God's Son, and all sort of things that are unhealthy. And I think every genuine lovers of democracy, particularly those who fought for this democracy, including President Bola Tinubu, should be sad that what we fought for as democracy is being bastardized by politicians in River State.
And through it all, Mr. Lawson, we keep hearing issues of agreements that have not been met, or certain people who have walked away from their commitments. Prior to governors comes politics. Who do you think carries the burden now to be able to, do their political bidding so that there will be room for governors?
You see, in all sincerity, like I said, the people of River State are missing. If you look at the content of this agreement, which are, to me, more speculative than being real, because I'm not sure there's anybody that have seen any signed agreement between these parties aftermath of the crisis that led to this declaration of the state of emergency. The truth is that are these agreements about the development of River State? Are these agreements about the welfare of the people of River State? If it's about servicing the interests of politicians, particularly those in the executive and the House of Assembly, then such agreements are even unhealthy in itself. And if it has been reached, every parties in such agreement have a duty to respect whatever you have spent on paper as part of the basis for the political reconciliation that they did aftermath of that initial crisis.
Let me bring Obiaruko Ndukwe into this conversation very quickly. I'm sure you're following this keenly. Governor Fubara had mentioned late last year that he was waiting for Iyesom Wike to convene talks. The FCC minister, on the other hand, insisted that the meetings held, but that agreements were violated. Who, in your opinion, walked away from the peace process?
Well, the truth of the matter is that I've also been following this matter, right from the time that the state of emergency was lifted, and we got reports of the reconciliatory meetings and all that, somehow what they agreed to do, particularly when it comes to the issue of the budget. I think during the meeting convened by Chief Ferdinand Alabrabra, it was agreed that okay, first the assembly wanted the governor to come up with a supplementary budget, and he said no, he's going to be bringing the 2026 budget rather, and they also wanted him to also bring names of commissioners, submit the names of commissioners, transmit the names so that screen them and all that, and well, the governor probably had agreed to that, but up until now, he's not been able to transmit the names. Rather, we got the information that he had appointed some special advisors to take up the responsibility, of the commissioners as acting commissioners, so to speak. So, and then, of course, there could be other issues from what the lawmakers are saying. So, to me, I think that the whole ball lies in the court of the governor. Yes, we agree that yes, Wike may be the leader of the group, but he is the governor. When we are talking about two different arms of government that are being in crisis, and to an extent, I think the Supreme Court made it easier for the governor to be able to even detour this path of peace and reconciliation, irrespective of whatever meetings they may have had. If his lawyers had interpreted the Supreme Court judgment to him very well, I do not see any reason why he should go back to the same issues that were raised and the court, actually condemned. So I think that the governor has enough time. The notice of the impeachment will be served and within 7 days. And then, of course, within 7 days, I expect to see him to be swift, Unfortunately, like what we saw in the past, there are gladiators, political gladiators, who are interested in Rivers, in capturing Rivers State for whatever reason. I'm talking of externals. I'm not talking of people from the state. I'm talking of people who are from outside the state who also want to
All
align
right.
with the different groups. So I think that has put a lot of, pressure and caused more crisis than we
Indeed.
imagine.
Mr. Eli, do you agree that perhaps it's Mr. Governor that is not playing ball here? After all, it's its mandate, and perhaps it should be able to make some political sacrifices to be able to go ahead with the business of governance. Mr. Eli, can you hear me?
Yeah, can I hear you?
Well, I'm asking if you think that Mr. Governor has a role to play here to be able to do the business of governance. After all, there are agreements he was purportedly signatory to be able to occupy that position.
Well, believe in Nigeria, it's sad commentary that will have to come with this issue. I never have to be in the for some reason at the time. See, people say what does not done, does not cook when you boil it in the pot, will not also ripen when they bring out items and put them on light coals. The first major mistake that was made here was allow the Minister of FCC became sitting as governor of Rivers State to bankroll all 3% on the ticket of the PDP for Rivers State 3. The governor, the deputy governor, the 3 senators, 30 members are all bankrolled by one man. And that's the root of this crisis. That's why it's not a solution. You can't find a solution to it. It must be on the terms of the man that brought them to office. They're having this reconcilable difference because the governor and the deputy governor had walked away from whatever agreements they had. But see, for me and for most of us, what kind of agreements are we talking about here? This is a public office, not a private business. The Constitution itself should be the guiding principle, the guiding law. And that the Constitution is laws. What does the Constitution say per time each of these officials to do? What duty upon them exercise for the good of Rivers people? That should be what should concern us. What agreed on in dark rooms, that's our business.
I hear you clearly, but there are some who would say similar if Fubara wouldn't have been governor in the first place if he wasn't privy to such agreement, considering the way and manner he emerged, as governor of Rivers. But quickly, Mr. Lawson, the governor is now a member of the APC, even though many of the lawmakers pushing impeachment are also APC members, both of them publicly supporting the re-election bid of President Tinubu. Do you think the APC can save Governor Fubara at this time?
Well, for me, I think first and foremost, President Tinubu must be very, very careful of the antics of the politicians in Rivers State, the governor and those on the opposing camp. If you listen to the members of the assembly while they are talking about, whenever they are talking about this crisis, the first thing that easily comes to their mouth is, Mr. President, they are called. No, they talk sometimes as if they are appointees of the president. They are elected representatives of the people of Rivers State. And in this case, the Constitution must be the guiding principle of whatever resolution. Number two is the fact that we seem to have relegated even the political parties, in this case, because if there are issues between the executive and the legislature, as it used to be under said democracies, it is the party that will come in. But in this case, they are behaving as if it is the president that sent them to Rivers. They have relegated the people of Rivers. Those ones are not existing, in my own view. And now that what is expected of them is that now that they are members of the ruling party, the party has a leadership structure that operates from the national to the grassroots level. The party in this case has to come as a political party, irrespective of who is the minister, the governor, or assembly member in this case. And they should leave the president out of this. This idea of the president have called us, like Daddy has called children. Good. It is good that Mr. President intervened in the interest of peace. But they should leave the president out of this and address this issue as disciplined members of their political parties, as people who are elected to represent the people, and not some people who are fighting over cakes like school children.
Mr. Dukwe, do you see this matter being resolved without another intervention from Mr. President? Because this time, the governor is a member of his party, and it's also important to note that the development we have heard from the FCT minister and the lawmakers insisting that Mr. Governor will not return for a second term.
Well, the president as the leader of the party, aside being the president, also has a responsibility to make sure that his party is intact, in all the states for his ambition to return as president for a second term. But again, the question is Rivers State the only state? Even if they are in APC or PDP or whatever, that's not the only state. I think the president should be bothered with some other more important things to do. At the end of the day, it is the masses that will vote. And whoever they decide to vote for is the person that will win the election. This time around, the president has intervened the first time. They reneged on the agreement they had, and then came back again. Of course, we had the state of emergency, and they came back. After that, they reconciled and agreed to work together. And today, we are seeing something different. I do not think that the president should bother himself about this issue. Like Femi Lawson said, it's a constitutional matter. Let the Constitution speak. I keep saying that let the Constitution speak. If the Constitution says you have breached the certain aspects of the Constitution and you have committed impeachable offenses, you face the music. But if you also have the room for reconciliation, political reconciliation, you can do so. Right. Unfortunately, like I said, there have been some external forces who have tried to dig deeper and ensure that there is no peace in Rivers State.
We have to go now. Mr. Shogbe Eli, in a minute, if you can, how much impact do you see the Rivers issue have on the 2027 election, considering that both parties are now openly supporting Mr. President?
Well, I think
we probably can't continue with that conversation with Mr. Ele. Mr. Shugbe Ele, thank you so much for talking to us as a legal practitioner. I've also been speaking with Femi Lawson, public affairs analyst and journalist Obiaruko Ndukwe. Gentlemen and lady, Thank you for your time.